All right, we're at 4-5.
10 minutes ago, I was just on a call.
Okay.
All right. All right, it's 5:45, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum, barely. Mr. Drewer, if you will do roll call, please.
Mr. Bennington.
Here.
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Minke. Ms. Larimer. Ms. Roland Miller.
Here. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I know Ms. Larimer did text. She was running a little bit late, and hopefully will be here in a few minutes. We do welcome everyone. It's always wonderful to see the seats filled, especially with so many students tonight. We welcome you to the Commodore Building, and we thank you for attending the meeting tonight. We do want everyone to be safe while they were here. So please note that there are exits on both the east and west sides of the cafeteria. In case of emergency, there is an AED located right outside those doors up on the wall in the hallway. If emergency vehicles are needed, please tell them that you're at 140 East Indiana Avenue. Thank you for joining us. We have a proposed agenda in 2.1. I don't have any changes to it. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Anderson, Mr. Bennington. Mr. Drewer, roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Bennington.
Yes.
Ms. Roland Miller.
Yes, we have an agenda. First, in our order of business, are recognitions for tonight, and so I'll turn it over to Dr. Anstadt to begin the recognition portion.
Good evening, everyone. Could I welcome Brent Swartzmiller, our Director of Teaching and Learning? He has our first recognition.
Hi, do we happen to have our friends from TutorSmart? Hi, Tiffany. So I want to thank the Board of Education for the opportunity this evening to recognize a meaningful partnership that we have that supports our students. At tonight's meeting, we're honored to accept a generous donation of $7,500 from TutorSmart in support of our Students Supporting Other Students tutoring program, the SOS program at Perrysburg High School for the 2025-26 school year. For many years, this program started and continues to be funded from the Ford Caulfield Foundation. Following the passing of Ford Caulfield in August, he made arrangements for TutorSmart to continue this important work. His legacy in investing in young people, in the lives of, and education, lives through this partnership, and we are grateful. A bit about TutorSmart, and you can correct me. Founded in 2017 with the help of Lourdes University and the Greater Toledo Community Foundation, TutorSmart is known for its focus on targeted academic interventions, research-based instructional practices, and data-driven results, all values we hold here at Perrysburg Schools. The SOS tutoring program began in 2013-14 academic year and is officially one of 6 that Mr. Caulfield funded in this fashion. 2 in Illinois, 1 in Michigan, and we are one of 3 in the state of Ohio. So this program has been incredibly positive for our high school, not only for providing academic intervention, but also empowering students to help their peers succeed. So this evening, we're pleased to welcome TutorSmart Executive Director Tiffany Adamski. And I haven't met you.
This is Haifa.
This is Haifa? I'm sorry.
The Director of Advancement.
Director of Advancement. On behalf of Perrysburg Schools, we're proud to formally recognize you and thank both of you and TutorSmart for your generosity and partnership in continuing the program for our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
think we're going to get a picture for you.
I didn't realize that my son would have been a freshman in 13, 14, and it just seems to me that this program has always been there and always been there to support students. And so I'm really grateful that there was a way to continue that, and I thank you for the partnership you have with our community and our schools, but most importantly with our students. So thank you, and thank you for coming tonight to be recognized.
All right, next up, we are recognizing some really amazing students, National Merit semifinalists. I think Ms. Bacon is going to come up and do the official honors.
I am very proud to announce that this year, 4 Perrysburg High School students have earned recognition as National Merit Scholarship semifinalists, one of the highest academic distinctions available to high school students in the U.S. To put this honor in perspective, more than 1.3 million students nationwide take the PSAT and MSQT each year, and only about the top 1% are named semifinalists. These students now have the opportunity to continue in the competition for National Merit Scholarships, which recognize exceptional academic promise, leadership, and community involvement. This achievement reflects not only their individual talent and effort, but the outstanding instruction and support provided by our teachers and families who've helped them along the way. At this time, I'd like to proudly introduce our 4 National Merit semifinalists: Hannah Davies, Madison Fisher, William Hollenbeck, Carson Clapper. Please join me in congratulating them for representing Perrysburg High School and our community with such distinction.
Thank you. And thank you to their families who I know really encourage them along the way. You don't become a National Merit semifinalist without a lot of team behind you. So congratulations to all of you. Next, I have the distinct pleasure of announcing an honor that I'm just so grateful to be here to see. So, do you want to read the resolution first?
Sure.
All right. Tonight, we're going to recognize Dr. Chris Vogel, a longtime volunteer. Whereas for more than 23 years, Dr. Chris Vogel has devoted his time, intellect, and heart to Perrysburg schools, serving as a trusted volunteer, researcher, and community partner whose insights have shaped how the school district understands and plans for the future. And
whereas, drawing upon his sharp analytical mind and PhD in chemistry, Chris brought exceptional rigor and clarity to his work, using data not only to reveal patterns, but to help the district and community make thoughtful, evidence-based decisions. And
whereas Chris has been an invaluable resource to the school district's leadership and the community, gathering and analyzing data about student enrollment, housing trends, community growth, and voting behavior to help ensure decisions were rooted in fact and context. And
whereas his work has resulted in dozens of detailed reports and countless hours of analysis that have helped the school district better anticipate needs, guide strategic planning, and communicate transparently with the public. And
whereas Chris approached every project with precision, humility, and genuine curiosity, asking the right questions, uncovering new insights, and always encouraging those around him to think more deeply about the why behind the numbers. And
whereas he enriched every discussion with thoughtful reflection, patience, and good humor, whether through his hundreds of emails offering perspective or his steady presence at committee meetings that often stretched late into the evening, and
whereas those who had the privilege of working alongside him know that Chris brought far more than data, or is it data? I'm not really sure. He brought wisdom, warmth, and an unwavering commitment to truth, never shying away from complexity, but always grounding the conversation in what was best for students and the community. And
whereas his contributions reflect the spirit of service that defines Perrysburg, extending also to his community involvement through Rotary and other civic efforts, where he continued to model the values of integrity and compassion. And
whereas his personal passions and experiences, his love of opera, cats, and swimming, his fluency in German, and his distinguished career as a retired executive added richness to every interaction, reminding us that data and humanity are not separate but deeply connected. And
whereas he has been a steadfast example of commitment and kindness, an amazing husband to his late wife, Mary Ann, and a proud father to Annie and Peter, whose lives and work carry forward his spirit of curiosity and service.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Perrysburg Board of Education extends its heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Chris Vogel for his extraordinary service, his enduring influence on our understanding of the community we serve, and his example of thoughtful, fact-based, and compassionate civic engagement.
be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the official record of the Perrysburg Exempted Village School District and presented to Dr. Vogel as a tribute to a life of service that continues to make Perrysburg schools and all of us better. So we have not only that resolution, Chris, who I'm dodging here, but we also have a certificate that we would like to present, Award of Exemplary Service presented to Christian Vogel, PhD, for 23 years of outstanding service and dedication as a data analysis volunteer with Perrysburg Schools. So Chris, I'm thankful you've always been a part of this community as far as I'm aware. And I learned early on, even before the schools, of your abilities and willingness to share, which is really unusual. And I'm really thankful for all that you've done. And I'm thankful that you can now move and be closer to some of your family, too.
Thank you all very much. I really don't know what to say. The only thing I would say is that I enjoyed it, but it was a lot of fun. The way my head worked. And after I tried retirement, my wife, Mary Ann, said, find something to do. And Mike Klein was the superintendent, and I think I taught German for a year. And then we had some consultant work done, and Mike asked me to comment, and I did. And he said, well, how would you do it? So I told him, and he said, how much would you charge? And I said, nothing. I just do it for fun. And it's been the greatest 20-odd years of my life. I really enjoyed meeting people here. And it's been very just sold my house. I won't tell you how much money I made, but it's more money I've ever made in my life. I know the schools here are the strength of Perrysburg. And we can do to continue to make this one of the leading school districts in the state, even by the way the state counts it up. Gratifying to me. So I thank you all very much for these kind thoughts, and I thank you for getting me involved so I can enjoy myself. Because that's the high point.
Our pleasure.
I probably have the least experience with Chris. Only been here 4 years, but I walk in my first finance committee meeting, and there's Dr. Vogel beats everyone there. And no one warned me about the curmudgeon I was about to deal with, but Dr. Vogel does not suffer fools lightly, and he's going to tell you what he feels regardless of how you feel about it. And I've always appreciated that honesty, but more importantly, I felt, how he welcomed me to the community and Rotary with Chris. I sat by him as long as the club could stand, and they moved me away from him. So I wasn't old enough to sit at the kiddie table anymore. But no, Chris has been great. He's one of the first people I ever ran into who really understood what was happening at the state level in terms of school funding, as well as our local data analysis. And I get these, as a part of the things I work on the forecast is enrollment growth. And everyone keeps saying, you look at live births. No, you look at Dr. Vogel's data. That's what you look at. Live births don't mean anything to a community where the move-ins. All right, so Chris, thank you very much for the friendship, and I appreciate the 4 wonderful years, and I want to be like you when I grow up. So.
Yeah, I guess up at this table, I may have, at least as far as involvement with the school board, the most. And it even predates back when we were working on levy campaigns together. So your work goes back into providing support, analysis, and details, and your ability to cut the data and make us understand kind of by precinct where the hot points are and all that. It has just been invaluable to us. And I always appreciate your way of being and your ability to tell me to, I guess I'll be kind to myself and say, look at that a little differently, Eric, without making me feel stupid, has always been very much appreciated. And just thank you for everything you've done. The district may be able to duplicate what you've done, but we'll never be able to replace how you did it. So thank you.
Mr. Vogel, they both mentioned the thing about fools or being kind and not feeling stupid. That is probably one of the things about you I will always hold dear, that for somebody who looks at numbers and glazes over or breaks out in a cold sweat, and you never put me down for that. You always taught me, you always kindly explained, and I actually feel more comfortable with it all now and understand I can never do what you do. Your job is secure here. But I got to tell a story though. I happened to run into Chris at Kroger on Conan Street not too long ago, and he mentioned to me that he was moving. Now, most of us would say we're moving to Cleveland or we're going to be near a friend's, my family or whatever. Not Chris. He says, I'm moving across the hall 132 miles away. And I knew that 132 miles was accurate. I'm still laughing about that. And I just thought, oh my gosh. And so I'm sad that you're going. I think it's a wonderful new adventure for you. And I hope you go to Oktoberfest this week because it sounds like a fun party over there.
Can we do a picture with you, Chris?
All of us?
All of it? Randy and I are going to go.
Okay.
He got stung. He got stung.
Who did that?
What is this, boys and girls? I know. Can you get us all in?
Thank you all so much. It really helped. What I could say is that it's been fun. That's the way my head works. And Mary Ann
Yeah, it's
said,
really
find
strange.
something to do, you're driving me nuts. Because this worked out the way it was supposed to. So thank you all very much. I will follow the upcoming election. And if anybody needs data, I got mountains of data. All you have to do is ask.
Data from Cleveland.
Yeah.
I can
We'll always
get
need data,
from
Chris.
Cleveland. It's all- Everything I do is public record.
We're going to take a 5-minute break right now. So it's, I forgot my phone, 6:05, so we'll be back at 6:10.
Good chance for people.
So I'll call us back into order. At this time, if there's no objections from the rest of the board, I'd like to move item 17.1, public comment, topics other than agenda items, up to kind of merge that with our 5.1 public comment of agenda items. The three people who are signed up to speak, all are speaking at the levy, about the levy, and technically we don't have that as part of our agenda. So I'm going to suggest that we move that up if there's no objections. Okay. So at this time, we'll have public comment. The purpose of public comment, again, is normally to provide input to agenda items. We're moving it up, so this last part is usually to just provide the board questions or input on things that you want them to consider. Per policy, there is a 3-minute limit to each person speaking, and I'm going to ask for some help in tracking that because I often forget. I will ask you to approach the microphone here in the center in the order in which you registered. Once I recognize you, I'll ask you to state your name and your address, and possibly if you have any group affiliation that you want to identify. And I think that's probably it. So I'd like to start off with Maddie Gankowski, if you would come up to the microphone.
Hi.
Hi.
Wait, so
So
what?
say your name and
I'm
your address. for
Maddie Gankowski, 697 Indian Wells Lane,
Okay.
Perrysburg. Hi, I'm Maddie Gankowski. I'm a sophomore at PHS. I'm a member of both band and choir, and I'm here to speak about a student's perspective on the levy cuts. Ever since last year's failed levy, there has been such a huge impact made on the students in Perrysburg. We have lost many of our favorite teachers, those teachers being the ones who have helped students such as myself find confidence in ourselves as performers and musicians. After seeing this huge impact and seeing the proposed cuts for the upcoming levy, I've decided to speak up and share my opinions on the behalf of myself and others who may be afraid to do so. I think that it's important for voters to see the perspective of a student who is directly affected by it and how the student experience will suffer with further cuts. In Perrysburg, students have the option to start their music journey as early as 5th grade and continue music throughout their schooling until senior year. The music department at Perrysburg is a big deal. Every year, we consistently receive superior ratings at OMEA contest in band, choir, and orchestra. If the levy fails, that will no longer be an option. Students will not even have the opportunity to start music until 2 years later in 7th grade, and even then, there will be no performances in junior high nor high school. No concerts, no contests, no competitions, no musicals, no marching band, no band and parades. Stages both in the community and in the schools left silent. It shouldn't have to be this way. It can't come to this. There is much more, not including music, that is on the verge of being cut. I could talk all day about the impact that will be made by cutting extracurriculars and the impact on student athletes by cutting their sports. But since I don't have time, I'll leave you with this last thought. Think back to your high school years. Think about the sports, extracurricular activities, or music that you and your friends participated in or attended. Think about the friendships you made and the dedication and passion you had towards those activities. Think about how that added enjoyment to your high school years and took some of the academic pressure off of your shoulders by spending time with your friends through shared interests. Now imagine how you would feel if that was taken away from you in an instant. Would that affect what you did in college, maybe even what you're doing now as an adult? Now think of the students who won't get to pursue interests similar to you just because they were denied the opportunity to explore and try new things during high school. We are constantly being encouraged to get involved, but with the loss of these opportunities, that is almost impossible. Many students will lose the feeling of belonging in school because they won't have the outlets to meet people with similar interests to them, and they'll never meet those unexpected friends that will last a lifetime. If we are denied these opportunities through our schools, the experience of many students will suffer, talents will suffer, students will feel disconnected from each other. Schools will become something that students are forced to do rather than something they enjoy, and the overall experience of our teen years will be lost. It can't be this way. The student experience that Perrysburg is known for will be lost. Thank you for listening and allowing me to speak today.
Thank you, Maddie. Next, I have Maddie Flower. Flower? Sorry if I just mispronounced your name. You can say your name correctly when you get up here.
Maddie Flogger,
and then 9889 Parliament Place. Good evening. My name is Maddie, and I'm currently a junior at Perrysburg High School. I've been a part of the band program for 6 years and a marching band for 3. I wanted to come here and talk tonight about the upcoming election and what this levy means to the students like me. If this levy were to fail again, I would lose my senior year of band, something I've worked towards since middle school. This would mean missing out on senior night, our Disney trip, and all other traditions that make senior year special. It's hard to think about not being able to experience those things after so many years of dedication. But this isn't just about me. If the levy fails, students at the intermediate schools will also lose their chance to join band and learn an instrument. I don't think it's fair for the younger students to miss out on the same opportunities that I and so many others have had. Just a few weeks ago, we hosted our 8th grade band night. It was amazing to see how excited those students were to be part of the high school band. If this levy doesn't pass, that opportunity disappears from them. The impact goes far beyond music. My brother plays on the JV football team, and he's always dreamed of finishing his high school career as a Perrysburg Yellow Jacket. A failed levy would take away sports programs that have shaped so many students, including those who go on to play at a collegiate level. These programs give students a sense of belonging, teamwork, and pride that cannot be replaced. The same goes for our gifted students. Taking away gifted programs would make it harder for those who need more academic challenges to grow and stay engaged. Every student learns differently, and we all deserve the chance to be supported at our level. Transportation is another big concern. If busing is eliminated for high school students, many families will struggle. Not everyone has access to a car or a parent to drive them to school. Some students might have to transfer to other districts just to continue their education and activities, such as sports, clubs, music, and many more. Finally, the reduction in reading intervention programs at the elementary level would hurt students who need that early support. I know this personally. When I was younger, I struggled with reading. Thanks to my reading intervention teacher, I caught up and even began reading at a high school level by 3rd grade. That changed my life and gave me a love for reading that I still have today. Every child deserves that same chance. Larger class sizes and fewer resources would also make it harder for teachers to give each student the attention they need. It's not fair to ask teachers to do more with less, or for the students to miss out on the support they deserve. In closing, this levy isn't just about numbers or budgets, it's about people. It's about every student in this district who wants to learn, grow, and be a part of something meaningful. By voting yes, you're investing in our future, in musicians, athletes, scholars, and leaders of Perrysburg. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting our students in schools.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you.
And Veronica Falter.
Hello, I'm Veronica Falter, 1993 Lexington Drive, Perrysburg. When I was a senior in high school that fall, Genoa Schools was also fighting for a levy. Of course, the teachers would encourage us students to go home and tell our parents to vote for the levy, as I am sure is happening this very day. Naturally, not understanding what all school levies were about, I would go home and tell my parents they had to vote for the levy, especially since I was a cheerleader, because of the important things to a school-age girl. For some reason, though, I attended my one and only meeting between the residents of Genoa and the school board. A businessman, Mr. Sampson of Sampson's Furniture, was there and spoke up. He said something that has stuck with me all these years because it made sense to a 17-year-old girl, and it has been 50 years since I graduated from Genoa High School, so maybe it was meant for such a time as this, to quote Esther in the Bible. He made the point that just as all schools do when they're pushing for a levy that they fear is going to fail, the first thing that is played on is no sports, no extracurricular activities, of course, in my mind, to get the students riled up. But this time, here in Perrysburg, all of that, and oh my goodness, so much more, I was shocked at the list of takeaways that the board listed, and it went on and on. What Mr. Sampson said was, okay, so you take away all the sports, which is self-sustaining, by the way, and these extracurricular activities, and you keep the school going for another 2 weeks. Then what? So I asked this board this very same question. And I would strongly suggest that every parent that has a child going to Perrysburg schools refuse to be threatened by this ploy, and every resident of Perrysburg ask themselves the very same question. So, school board, you keep the schools going for another 2 weeks, then what? At this point, so many financial questions have been raised and have not been truly addressed, and there just has not been any accountability for the expenses, only that we need to spend more to keep the school system going. Plus, there has only been an increase in administrative expenses. That should be cut first, but it's just not happening. Our students and teachers are truly Perrysburg's badge of honor. For that very reason, I pray this board is flipped this November from this overspending practice back to one of financial accountability to the people of Perrysburg and back to the conservative core values at every level of the school system, which was the reason my husband and I moved here 30 years ago, and one that is accountable to the residents of Perrysburg. That accountability will return back the opportunities that Ms. Gankowski and Ms. Vlogger stated, because it truly is about budgets and numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public comment section. Thank you to everyone for coming and sharing. I'd like to now turn it over to the superintendent for district update.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, start with the superintendent's report. Here we go. All right. I'd like to remind everyone of our mission, ensuring all students achieve their greatest potential, and our vision, where passion drives exemplary education. We are here to prepare our future-ready jackets, who are thoughtful problem solvers, purposeful communicators, respectful collaborators, persistent innovators, lifelong learners, and empathetic citizens. Our core values are: we value students as individuals, we inspire students to discover their passion, we challenge our students and ourselves, we provide a safe and inclusive environment, we manage resources efficiently, we enrich our community, and we are trailblazers. The board purpose and responsibilities are to establish the school's district mission and vision, set strategic objectives for student achievement, and ensure necessary resources are available. The board's responsibilities are: they plan for the future, engage the community, monitor student achievement, provide and steward, hire, support, and supervise the superintendent and treasurer, set policy, and educate the community to advocate for public education. So I'd just like to go through a few great celebrations over the last month that we've seen. So this is our beautiful Frank Elementary School Walkathon. I was talking to this principal today. It's National Principals Month, and we're going to celebrate each of our principals over the next 8 days. Each one of them will get just a couple-minute Zoom call with me, and then we'll publish that for all the community to see. We have amazing leaders in this district, just amazing principals who do such a great job at the school level. And so one of my initiatives is to kind of let our community get to know those principals a little better. So I think they were a little nervous because sometimes people can be unkind on social media, but I assured them that that would not happen here because they are highly respected and loved. So this happened to be one of this principal's favorite memories. I asked him for a special moment, and this was one of hers. She just loves this event, the Frank School Walkathon. It was a huge success. This, I know, is very popular. As a matter of fact, I was at the football game Friday night, and one of the students that went on this experience, which is grant funded, came to me to tell me what an incredible leadership experience this was, and that it kind of changed her mind about what she wanted to do as a career. She's now considering education, which I love because she was very excited about being able to be this kind of an influence, just as the HIP leaders are. So these were our HIP leadership kids, our high impact peer program. It's been around for decades here, focuses on anti-bullying and developing leadership and self-confidence. And every fall, 24 to 26 students are chosen by faculty and advisors at the junior high based on their skills that they already possess, but also on potential that they show. So this was an incredible experience for them, and it was great to hear from them, to see what a great time they had. A big thank you to Jackie Durer, who's the high school STEM teacher and also HIP advisor, and also the Perrysburg Schools Foundation, who made this happen. The Wood County District Public Library Bookmobile has been visiting with first grade students, and you can see that they've made some great choices there. Everybody that goes to the junior high recognizes this event. They love it so much. Again, just thank you so much to JPO, who is along with the Perrysburg Schools Foundation, a lot of volunteers who did not leave clean. No one gets out of this event not looking somewhat like that. You end up with some kind of colored powder. The annual jacket color run is in its 8th year. They exceeded their goal, and obviously this is something that JPO does for us in supporting positive student incentives. Mrs. Larimer and I heard about this at how much fun these kids had, and really supports our Jacket Way program. This 2 weekends ago, I guess it was, or was it this past weekend? I can't remember. It's 2 weekends ago, right? So the Perrysburg High School Interact Club teamed up with Perrysburg Rotary in a Let's Build Beds. And this is an event that creates safe and comfortable beds for kids in need. I can tell you I came from a district that had a lot of kids that did not have beds, and they benefited from this program. It's amazing to me how many kids just don't have a bed. And this program allows kids in underserved areas to get their very first bed. So a big thank you to Serve Ohio for partially funding the product through a Make a Difference Day grant. Custodian Appreciation Day was early in October, and this is an especially fun picture. This is Doug Russ laying on the floor there. The entire staff and many of the students dressed like Mr. Russ that day, because it was to honor and appreciate our custodians. So this was kind of fun, and I know all the buildings had something special planned for their custodians who keep our buildings clean and safe and in good repair, and we're grateful for all of them, and this was a really fun day for him. I know he was absolutely flabbergasted, and when I talked to him, he could barely make words. He was so excited about the way we honored him. These little dolls at preschool, the Preschool Art Show, was an exhibition that highlights creativity and developmental growth of our very youngest learners across the river there. This showcase celebrated the artistic process, imagination, self-expression, adorableness of our preschoolers, and certainly we're recognizing these yellow jackets. This was literally just maybe today or the last couple of days. All 5 of our Woodland Elementary Schools 3rd grade classes have this great option of taking a walking field trip through Woodland Park, because it's the City of Perrysburg Sculpture Walk. And so they get to go through, and God bless Robin Balmer, who will do this multiple times this week. She'll kind of narrate the tour. She does a fantastic job. Mr. Dreyer and I saw her at Rotary, and she kind of had slides of all this, but there's nothing quite like seeing these sculptures in person. If you haven't taken the time to pull into this park and walk through this sculpture walk, I would highly encourage it. It's really just such a special thing. Just another one of the things that makes Perrysburg so special. I had a great time last Thursday volunteering at the HPI Literacy Center. This group of really dedicated moms and parents meets on Thursdays to kind of reorganize, label, inventory, repair the books that are in each of our literacy centers at Hall Prairie. It is a really big job, And so it was just a pleasure to spend time with them, talk to them, and get to know them a little better. All right, and that's that one. Any questions about any of those events? No? We're good? It was so much fun. Lots of fun. I'm having just the time of my life. I'm having such a good time. So we've been talking about this. This is often a question that we hear out and about. And we had a very talented person kind of put this together for us, and I thought it was worthy of sharing. Mrs. Roland Miller shared it first, I believe, at
Chamber.
Yes, Chamber, at
Just
Chamber.
portions of it, yeah.
And yes, portions of it, and we're going to share it here tonight, and we'll continue to share it. It seems to be very popular, so I think it's a really good run-through of how we do operate here. It's a question that's often asked: why can't schools run more like a business? Or, I know how to make my company more efficient. Why can't schools do that? And here's the truth. Perrysburg schools already run like some of the most high-performing and efficient businesses around. And if anything, businesses could probably learn from us. We have 5,500 customized products every single day. We don't turn out any two that are alike. Imagine a company that had to do that. Every one of them is unique. Every one of them is changing over time. Every one of them is influenced by forces that are well out of our control. Now imagine that those products are independently reviewed and ranked in the top 5% of more than 600 competitors across the state. That's what we do here every day. Not only do we deliver high quality outcomes, but we do it at a cost per student that is lower than the state average. Just let that sink in a minute. Lower than the state average. We perform at 5 stars and spend less. In other words, better performance, lower cost. That's a business dream scenario. Regulation without escape clauses. Schools do not operate just in a competitive environment. They operate in one of the most regulated industries that there is. There's always new rules, new mandates, new training. It's constant. And unlike businesses, we can't delay or push off to the next quarter or discontinue a model. Every request for customization has to be filled. Every student who walks in our door is served. No exceptions, no waiting list, no out of stock, and might I add, with a whole lot of love. Management. We are lean, responsive, and relentless. In the business world, it's accepted that one manager oversees 6 to 10 employees. At Perrysburg, our average administrative load is 20 plus employees each. That's 20 plus evaluations, that's 20 plus walkthroughs, that's 20 plus people that have a variety of things going on. Every one of our administrators manages at least 20 people. And their role doesn't stop there. Unlike most business managers, school leaders are expected to directly respond to thousands of customers, families who rightfully want updates, attention, and accountability for how their child is doing. Principals, assistant principals, and district leaders spend countless hours outside of the typical day returning calls, answering emails, attending meetings, and addressing concerns. These aren't extra tasks. They are fundamental to how schools must operate as institutions of public trust and service. So while a typical business manager might focus solely on operations and metrics, our administrators juggle compliance, staff oversight, and continuous customer engagement, all at twice the scale of the private sector. Shareholder value that is off the charts. So what about returns for the shareholders? If property owners are treated as investors, they've seen a 38.9% increase in property value over the last 5 years. This comes from Zillow. We double-checked with a few real estate agents, and they're like, yeah, it's about as accurate as you can get. That's not just growth. That's market-leading growth. The workforce challenge, highly educated and yet shrinking in supply. The workforce of a school district is uniquely comprised of highly educated professionals. Every teacher, every counselor, every specialist is not only trained but also licensed. Yet our pipeline is eroding. The number and proportion of new college graduates with education degrees has been steadily falling. Education degrees once led the list of bachelor's degree awards. By 2021, it had dropped to roughly 10th, the most common major. That means that Perrysburg is operating in a talent-constrained environment, forced to retain, recruit aggressively, and offer incentives to attract top people, all while delivering exceptional outcomes. In the business world, we can delay projects until the next quarter. Here, we have to deliver every single day with no exceptions. In a business world, they can discontinue unprofitable products, but not here. We have to serve every student and every need. Managers oversee 6 to 10 employees in a business world. Our administrators oversee 20 plus employees and thousands of families. Customer support, sometimes you know this, you call for customer support, you get transferred to the optional service line. Not here. Families expect and deserve daily responsiveness, and that's what we do. In the business world, they're competing for market share. Here, we're consistently ranked in the top 5% statewide. I cannot stress to you enough what an amazing accomplishment that is. Investors expect steady returns. Home values are up 38.9% in 5 years. And in the business world, I would say this is a challenge in the business world too, but they can recruit from growing talent pools. And our talent pool is really shrinking as fewer and fewer students enter education majors, More and more of us are looking for those education majors, and we're competing with the districts around us. The bottom line. So the next time someone says to you, why don't schools run more like a business? Maybe the better question is, why don't more businesses run like Perrysburg schools? Because if they did, they'd be producing top-rated products, under budget, in one of the toughest regulatory environments imaginable, while also responding personally to thousands of customers, recruiting from a shrinking pool of highly trained professionals. That's not just efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, that's excellence. That's all I have for you.
Thank you for that. I think one of the things that struck me as I was first reading through this was that, the customer service in many businesses is this separate piece, that there's people trained in customer service or that are doing just that. And it is true that every single one of our staff members, whether it's a teacher, an administrative, someone here in the administrative offices, they're all doing customer service. And the customers, we talk about the families, but it is also the entire community that we're customer service reps for. So again, I've always been amazed by our staff and what we've asked them to accomplish with the cuts that we had to do after the last levy rejection. We were asking them to do even more, and then I'm reminded of how much they're doing that I don't even think of on a daily basis. So thank you for that. All right, we'll move over to Mr. Drewer and the treasurer's report
And how do I follow that?
with excellence.
We really appreciate that, that perspective on the schools. I tell you, when I saw it last week, it was just a pep talk. It's just like every day you want a pep talk, just go through those things and you realize, why we got into this to begin with. I want to go back to Build the Beds Day. Sue and Susan were both there, and Tess came to help too. And we built 30 beds in 2 hours. So put that in perspective. And the waiting list goes for 700 beds.
Yeah.
So they're always looking for some opportunities. So, all right, so let's move into the more fun stuff. Financial. So like I want to do once in a while is remind ourselves, even though we don't need a reminder at this point, of why we do what we do. Top 5% below state average in costs. This data is 2024. I'm sure the 2025 data, when it's available, will come out. That dark circle is Perrysburg. This is us against Wood and Lucas County schools. Second highest performance and well below the average for the area. That's not state average, that's for the area, our schools around us. We outperform all but one school district in the area, and we spend per student less than most of them. So really nice. But then, as Mr. Schwartzmiller likes to point out, that's not really who our target is. Our target are the districts who are most like us. The Auroras, the Avon Lakes, Beaver Creeks. Again, these are the districts that look at like us in terms of demographics, wealth, and other demographics. You can see, again, we're right up there as one of the top performers and below costs per student versus our peers. So it's a kind of reminder of what we do, and to me it's an external validation that we're on track, and the naysayers can say what they want, but this district delivers the goods and has for a long time. There's my little pep, that's best I can do for a pep talk for today. Financially, let's go on to general fund. We are 3 months into the new fiscal year. The trend on our cash flow and cash balance, just what you expect. Between now and January and February, our cash balance will continue to drop as we are in between our tax payments. And how much that drops, obviously, is very dependent on what happens here in a couple of weeks. So nothing unusual there. Just again, this is this year. So the light green line at the top is our cash balance, the red is our revenue, and the dark green are expenses. Our expenses, a reminder, are relatively flat during the year. They don't vary a lot, but our revenues do, right? That's why we carry a cash balance, because our revenues are going to be up and down as the year goes on. So looking at the general fund, we are at 148 true cash days. as of the end of September. Last year at this time, we were at 166 days. Our revenue is down about 17% year over year, and our costs are down about 1%. And this is, we're seeing the impact of the reductions. Not just the reductions we made this year. Remember, with the custodial reductions we saw last year that made us come in last year a lot better than expected. Of course, those are carrying through. So, but again, we are tracking where we expect to be at this time. I want to hit on just a couple of line items real quick. Real estate taxes. You can see year over year, that's the impact of the levy failure from November. So last year at this time, we had collected over 22 million. This year, 16.5. That's the difference in that levy. Now on the state aid, this one's a little more complicated because the biennium budget, which was approved in June, the school funding portion of that does not really take into effect until October. So at this point, you don't see the impact of the biennium budget on our funding. We're essentially being funded at last year's level through the first 3 months. So our first payment on the 10th was under the new formula, the new funding model, which included our essentially bonus for being a high performance district and having enrollment growth. And so you'll see a nice little bump in unrestricted state aid because of those starting in October. So we do, this biennium budget did give us a bump for those two things, but it doesn't really increase our per pupil because they've kept us flat funded otherwise. On the expense side, I just want to look at salaries and benefits. Again, we all know this is our biggest cost area. 80+% of our costs are in salaries and benefits. We are a people business. We don't inventory anything. We don't create widgets, right? As we've talked about, we have 5,500 plus beautifully customized products that we have to deal with, and it's done with people. And you can see our salaries and benefits, just a little bit of increase year over year. Again, that's the impact of the cuts coming this year. September is when we see the first significant change because that's the teachers' contracts go from September 1st to August 31st, right? So we don't see the impact of those until September. So now we are seeing those impacts. So that's really it on the general fund side. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay. On the agenda tonight is for the board to approve our health insurance premium for the next calendar year. Our health insurance premium, dental and medical go on a calendar year. So each year at this time, we work with the various partners to generate a recommendation for the board. So I'm going to walk you through the process. We have 3 goals when we look at our health insurance program and the premiums. We want to protect the integrity of the plan, that is, keep it solvent. We want to minimize the financial impact on the district and the employees, because remember, both the district and employees contribute premium to the plan, and we want to balance risk, right? We're making some calls here on the risk reward. If we were risk adverse, we would just collect all we can and get the biggest pot of money we can, but we know that that's not practical. So when we make this decision, we're using supple inputs. We're looking at some current trends of revenue versus expenses. We look at high claim analysis. Our actuary looks at the numbers, but what the actuary doesn't have is data that Don and I have on high claims and membership and those kind of things. So we factor that into it. Like we know if there's some high claimants who are no longer on the plan, et cetera. And of course, talk about actuarial inputs. We get to these numbers. These aren't just, Don and I sitting there staring at each other. We bring in experts in the area to run the numbers, and they have to certify to an audit that we're solvent and that we're making the right decisions here. And then, of course, we do have a consultants with Savage Associates. They're kind of our bounce things off of. They're the experts. As smart as Don and I think we are, we're not experts, right, Don? And we can admit it, so it's hard for me to do sometimes. But anyway, this is our trend on our self-insurance over the last 5 years. The green line is our cash balance in our insurance fund. And the blue line is the revenue, and the orange-red line is the expenses. So we've had a really good run over the last 5 years. Last year was the first time where our expenses outran our premiums. But fortunately, we had a cash balance. We could absorb that. That's what the reserve is for, to be able to absorb years like this. And we had some unusually high claimants that drove that higher than what we would expect at that point. So there's no panic here. It's healthy. Our average premium increase over the last 5 years has been 4.25%. I bet there's some private companies who would love to be able to have that trend for the health insurance for their employees, because the national average is well over 8 to 10%. So we look at the trends, and then we look at the stop loss, lasers, and exclusions. What that is, we buy insurance that protects the district from high claims. And that level's $170,000. So if I need a treatment, heaven forbid, cancer, a plan will cover up to $170,000, then our stop loss insurance picks up after that. Except the stop loss will laser out known high cost members. We know this member is going to be high cost, so they may make that $250,000 or $300,000. Then they'll also can exclude people from the stop loss. We know that this person is going to be a high claimant, and they're not going to insure them. So the plan has to take over the complete risk. This past year, we had a person who was excluded. That cost us well over $1 million. And there's some, won't go into details here. If you want, I'll share it with you. But again, our stop loss there is to protect us, but it's not complete protection. And then, of course, we look at membership changes, right? People retire, come off our plan. We look at that risk. So there's a bunch of numbers here. I'm going to Sue, you don't have to stare at all of them. I don't want your eyes to glaze over yet. But this is our actuarial looking at our trend lines. And what he is looking at is our reserve. That's kind of his, if you will, goal line. Maintaining a reserve at least 50% of claims. That's the goal. And so he modeled that out and said, if you look at one way to look at it, 6% increase this year, then 8% in future years to maintain that 50% target. And in fact, in the forecast, 8% is built into my forecast for premium increases after this year based on it. And he looks at it another way. You can't see these numbers. It's okay. I'll blow them up. So looking at claims rates, then he goes and compare them to what our consultant is saying. They're back and forth. His recommendation was a 5.42% increase in premiums. Just again, forecasting the rates that we have on claims and other expenses. So we took that data and combined it with our understanding of our high cost claimants and our loss. And so talking with the consultants and the actuary, we all agreed that a 4 to 5% increase on health insurance is warranted. And dental, our claims rates are great. There's no need to make a change there. So Mr. Christie, and my recommendation to the board is a 4.25% health insurance premium increase effective January 1. We believe it's a little bit on the optimistic side, but we have a healthy balance in our insurance fund. We can accept that risk at this point. If I was a little more conservative, it would go a little bit higher, but with our tough cash times like this is the way to kind of preserve general fund cash, but still fund the insurance fund adequately. Mr. Anderson, I might have a question.
Yeah, so the risk of going a little bit low on this is that next year's premium increase may end up having to be north of 8%.
It'd probably be higher. I mean, we are in an interesting situation for a self-insured organization. We're small. We're relatively small. Most organizations our size are in consortiums where they can group the risk. So as we talk with our health insurance committee, recognize that all of us who are members of the health plan are sharing the risk for each other. So that's the risk. You're right. If we have $1 million claimant or multiple, it's going to put the plan at risk. But But you are right. We're betting on ourselves a little bit. We're betting on our ability for our wellness efforts. We're betting on the effectiveness of our healthcare clinic, which has done a great job with our members, those kinds of things.
And we talked about this in a little bit of detail too, because and I'm having sat on other benefit committees in the for-profit world, I'm a big believer in the cyclicality of healthcare costs. You see trends that occur every 4, 5, or 6 years that you can almost set your watch by. And this was a high claims cost year. We were kind of at the high point of that cyclicality. So you use the word bet. I don't like the word bet. Hope is not a strategy.
No.
But the data and that history says that if we're to feather back a premium increase this year, and it's still an increase, right? It's not nothing. The data is saying this is a year to do that. So here, that risk exists, but it's a calculated risk with some grounded assumptions.
So let me just go back a little bit here. This graph here. So what we've done over the years is taken small increases, sometimes a little bit bigger than we needed to prepare potentially for a bigger year. And so that's kind of, we've kept that trend. Now we think we can take a little more risk in this coming year. So that's our recommendation. That's what we're asking the board to approve tonight.
Could you speak a little bit to the impact on the projections that I assume are built into this? I couldn't find that, but I know you're looking forward more than backwards. We have approximately 56, 58 less staff members that we're needing to consider. How is that played into this projection and into this increase estimate?
Honestly, it doesn't, because I didn't go back and look at everyone to see what their claims rates are. I prefer, from my seat, I know some of the big numbers, but not to look at individuals if I can avoid it. And we certainly can do that. We know some larger cost individuals who came off the plan. We are aware of those, but the average, the only thing I've done, like built in the forecast, is those who came off our plan, that's built into the benefits cost, right? Because not everyone who left the district were on our plan. So in some cases, if a person left, they may have had health insurance they may not have with us.
So those projected expenses recognize that there are less employees that are going to be filing claims, though.
Yes.
And the high cost claims, again, came off of the plan.
The highest cost came off the plan.
Came off the plan.
So the word that I got caught on was that we're small. And I thought, okay, if we're small, is there an advantage to us somehow being bigger? I know we have the Wellness Center, which was a genius idea from ARA, but I wonder, are there other people, other groups that we would want to bring in to help?
We explore that regularly. There are other options. The upside, obviously, is the sharing the risk. The downside is we lose our control. We were in the Wood County Consortium. When did we leave? Don, do you remember?
20 years ago. It's been a long time.
The Wood County, we were with other school districts in the Wood County Consortium. They made some changes. We went along with it, and no one else did what they said they were going to do, so we pulled out. And so we were accountable to ourselves. What I do know across the state, in talking with other consultants, there are some very well-run consortiums, and there's some very poorly run consortiums. And you got to find the right thing. But Don and I have that conversation with our consultants all the time. What is the right plan? Maybe a fully insured plan, right? Or which means that right now we are the insurance company, so we're insuring our employees. Maybe we do a fully insured plan, mutual health anthem. But we look at those things regularly, and right now we feel like, Don, correct me if I'm wrong here, our having local control is worth the risk. But at some point in time, joining a larger consortium makes some sense to share the risk. But again, you end up being one voice, one vote, and you're at the mercy of others. And I can tell you, my experience with some 3 consortiums, 2 are not well run, and it was frustrating.
Well, as I recall, that experience you referred to that Perrysburg was in some, 2 decades ago did not work out well was not to Perrysburg's benefit financially.
And
which
I
is
can
why
tell
they
you,
pulled out.
Wood County Consortium rate increases have been significantly higher than ours.
Well, and that's where the proof is in this. I mean, that's how you back this up, is the low claims experience, 8-9%, costs, a 4.25% health insurance premium increase. I mean, the plan is working really well as designed. Throw some salt over my shoulder when I say that, because, that's, anything could happen tomorrow.
We just got to recognize there's risk. That it's the risk that we just got to have our eyes open on that risk. It's done well. We're doing well. I think we've got a really good system.
The reserves are
Reserves are
strong.
good.
Yeah.
We have a healthcare committee that is really getting engaged. They've got some great suggestions on how to do a better job educating our employees to make better decisions about healthcare. And we all got a vested interest in this, right? Because we're all part of the plan, and it's part of it.
Employee-owned, yeah.
So approving this rate increase is 15.2 in our consent agenda. So we can certainly pull it from the consent agenda if we want to discuss it further at that time, but are there additional questions related to this? Because I know there's another part of the presentation. So are there additional questions we want to get into right now? Okay.
Thank you for the conversation. So I'm going to move quickly through these last couple things. So in parallel to the rate premium increase, we're looking at, we have a self-insurance fund, right? Right now, we don't have a policy around how to manage that fund. We have a policy around how to manage our general fund reserve. So I've sent the reviews to the finance committee. We'll send this to policy, but I'm asking the board at some point in time approve a policy on our insurance fund, which essentially says this: our target is to maintain 50% of our expected expenses. And within, and obviously you're not going to sit right there, but you're going to have a range. If we get too low, or going to project to be too low, we have to take that little higher increase. Or if we start getting too high, then we can either dial back the increase, or there's some other things we can do. So that's coming your way. This is kind of a preview. I think unless Eric or Laura want to make any more comment about that. We've gone through finance. It'll go to policy at some point in time. There's no rush on this.
So that's not in this first read of the policies? Okay.
There's no rush on this. But the key players in this is it's a team effort. Don and I will kind of lead that effort. We'll have an actuary involved, and then the finance committee, we kind of play that key role then on that decision making. And then obviously the board makes the final decision on premium changes and that kind of thing. So that's coming. The last thing, I think it's the last thing, just revisit Route 99 property. Reviewed this last couple months with the finance committee. Again, we have 75 acres there east of Route 75. About half of it is used for a Perrysburg Soccer Club, and the other half we rent as farmland. Right now, the soccer club maintains their acreage, no cost to the district. We do use that area for practice on occasion. And then there's about 40 acres south that we lease that we'll look at negotiating that lease at this point. A couple other comments there. There's no water and sewer in that area yet. And the parcel south of our property has been on the market for 4 years with no sale. So, I shouldn't call it a lease. I should have changed this. Our agreement with the Perrysburg Soccer Club is a use agreement. There's no financial consideration other than that they're maintaining it. And they sent us written notice that they want to renew, and we have the ability to terminate the agreement with 6 months' notice. For those reasons, I'm recommending there's no action needed to take at this time. That the agreement will get renewed, and if the board decides they want to do something else with the property, you've got 6 months to notify the Perrysburg Soccer Club on it. So. Laura or Eric, you want to make any more comments on that?
I mean, that it's a really well-used piece of property by that Perrysburg Soccer Club. And when you look at the success, did we mention the success that the varsity soccer programs have had? Both NLL champs, I believe, and on their way on to the next round. So, that all starts with what goes on that property. Every weekend this time of year, you can drive by there and see how well it's used. So just a great community partner. And like every other community partner that we have, we're recouping the costs on that. just like we do when the community theater group used to be able to use our buildings and they would repay for custodians and things like that. So the financial benefit in there is it's cost neutral to the district. If anything, they're taking care of stuff the district would otherwise have to pay for. And probably my second thought on this is it's really compelling, when there's property to the south that has been for sale that has had no activity, this property, undeveloped, no sewer, this also sits with a for sale sign on it for years. So there's not a sense of urgency when I believe the property's already at its best use as it is right now.
Okay. Anything else? All right. All right, wrap up here real quick. Our financial audit is essentially complete. You all should have received emails from the auditors asking for you to fill out a quick survey on any knowledge you have of fraud. That'll be wrapped up as soon as our financial statements are wrapped up, which have to be done by the end of the month. So it's all coming together. Our audit was another clean audit, so woo-hoo. Because of the Capitol Conference, I'm going to be out the rest of that week. Finance Committee is going to be moved to a week earlier to November 6th. So it's a change. I'll be rushing to get the financial statements stuff ready, but that shouldn't be too big of a problem. And my last item is I will be out of the office tomorrow. I'll be in Columbus testifying on House Bill 186. It's critical at this time. I don't know how good it'll do, but right now the worst case scenario, it'd be devastating to us as written. Essentially because the main thing is they're going to make it retroactive. So they'll go back 2 years, and then this year, and then next year. So it has a 3-year impact. It's close to $10 million. So we're not going to take that lying down.
I know it's retroactive. Okay.
So,
Well, we can, and I think we can talk about that now. We could also talk about that during the board discussion time.
Probably the only other, if I can make one more comment about Finance Committee, as a reminder to the public that these meetings are open to the public. So, when I hear that there are still unresolved questions about this district's finances, okay. I participated in maybe 120 finance meetings for this district, roughly. Don't check my math. But I could probably count on one hand, if I really think maybe two hands, the number of people that have come to these Finance Committee meetings to ask questions. I have a sense that even these comments, for those that are going to be watching this later, aren't going to be heard because most people probably skip over this section about finances. So, again, we sat in this room for the Finance Committee meeting last week, and it was empty, other than the committee members. So come join us. I find this stuff interesting, so evidently other people do too. So just a nice reminder that these meetings are open to the public. I think the district has a good idea of the way of Randy right now, and he's happy to talk and answer any questions that may be out there about our finances. Sorry.
No?
I want to make a comment on the healthcare cost. Having been in a district that was in a healthcare consortium, anytime that you can have a healthcare cost increase that is under 2 digits is a good year. And I know that's hard for some people to understand, but 9 and below is awesome. So, and the fact that we're only at 4.25 is great.
Thank you. We have in 7.2 a motion would entertain to approve the September 2025 financial report.
So move.
Second.
Ms. Menke, Mr. Bennington, Mr. Drewer, roll call, please.
Ms. Menke,
Yes.
Mr. Bennington,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Larimer,
Yes.
Ms. Rowland Miller.
Yes. Are there any other, 7.3, you all had a very full agenda. Are there any other items that you want to highlight from that?
I think Mr. Drew covered it.
Hearing none, we will move on to 8.1, student achievement. Mr. Bennington.
So it was a full meeting, but it seems to be light on agenda items. But started with the state report card was kind of new on the date of that meeting when we met on October 7th. But we talked about kind of some of the high points that were coming out. Some of the initial reactions. I wrote down a couple of interesting data points that was highlighted. Of the 5-star districts, I don't know if this was in the state, Our district has the second highest percentage of teachers with 0 to 4 years worth of experience. You know, that's a little bit of a mandate and a shift that was done in the hiring practices maybe, many years ago, to look at less experienced, I'd say, teachers in the hiring. So to be able to, see that data point to me says, what a great job our administrators do, our more experienced teachers in the mentoring of the less experienced teachers, what a great job our less experienced teachers do in the buildings, how coordinated we are with our teaching and learning rhythms to give the teachers the resources they need to be able to do the great work that they do for our students. So that's really, to me, that one kind of hit me, how it all comes together for a district like this, thanks to, the work of everybody, our administrators, our teachers, our building leadership. And it's typical of the teaching and learning gentlemen, even though we may be 5 stars in a certain area, Mr. Schwartzmiller, they're still beating up those areas to figure out how can we still be better. 5 stars is not good enough, I guess. They're trying to get to 5.5, 6 stars.
Sure.
So they are also doing some deep dives. I believe they had one earlier in October, right after our Student Achievement Committee meeting. But doing some deeper dives for staff. I believe the board members received invitations or were made aware of the dates. There's 2 more coming up in the next several weeks. Taking a look at starting to set the table for the data review. There's some dates in the minutes about when the talking with building leadership and the Student Achievement Committee about the data that's important as we take a look at our one plan and our strategy and what's important to consider there is ongoing. Continue to take a look at one plan, putting together a format to present the data that we have, collecting data for year 2, and taking a look at the lessons learned on the year 1 data collection in order to see what's needed to help support that initiative. Behavior data, continue to look at processes for addressing physical and verbal aggression. That continues to, unfortunately, see a high point. So, seeing where how to address and how to categorize, the disrespect, class disruptions, and the defying of the teachers in the classroom. Then on the elementary side, went over the elementary dashboard at a fairly high level. One of the data points I'll pull out of there is, the number of our students that start out on reading interventions on RIMS, like 23.5%, which feels awfully high. Obviously, we'd like to get that down, but it's noted, through 4th grade how many come off, and what a low percentage that is, again, due to intervention specialists and the curriculum and the work of our teachers. I think those are probably the high points that I recall that I pulled out. Ms. Roland Miller, anything else that hit you? Mr. Schwartzmiller, anything thumbs up? Thumbs up. We'll move on.
You get an A.
Yeah, we did more data diving, which shouldn't surprise anybody.
Yeah, and to that point, again, take a look at the minutes. The data's there, the dashboard's there. I encourage you to take a look at, it's all out there in the open to review.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened to community engagement. So as part of 9, I think we'll first move in. So again, just a reminder maybe to the people who are listening that finance, student achievement, and community engagement are our 3 standing board committees. Again, those are always open to the public. Policy as well, that's on an ad hoc nature. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened to that. But we did not meet this month, but I think we wanted to do a check-in with everyone. We had to reschedule, so we are meeting next Tuesday. But I think we wanted to do a check-in with everyone on whether to continue to go forward with the Saturday morning coffee, meet a board member, and some brief discussion about that. I think there was a question of whether we wanted to continue to do that. Mr. Anderson and I did the September one. We were there before the parade and then hung out during the parade and then were there after. We probably had about a half dozen or so people. It was a good time actually then during the parade for the two of us to kind of touch base on a few things. So I found it valuable. I was really grateful for the people that came and asked the questions or shared the things that they wanted to. So I think it's been valuable. So I would encourage continuing it, but that was me.
I'm sorry, is there a date set for, a proposed date for the next?
I don't know what
There-
was,
There were, but since we pulled it back to library and other forms, are we going to continue forward every month with this? Or did we want to go in the direction that Katie was going with other events?
I mean, I think what we had talked about last month was the idea of us spreading out and getting to the booster and parent groups on our own, and then teaming up with Dr. Anstad when that was appropriate or when she was available, and then just the board being available on those Saturday morning events that we had talked about, that there's things Dr. Anstad's going to do for community engagement, there's stuff we want to do together and partner on, and then this could be in that lane of things that the board does on it.
And my question was specific to the Saturday morning board
Yeah.
initiatives, which is if I'm hearing that those that have done it believe that they're worthwhile, I would support continuing to do it.
Agreed.
So
I think we could probably skip over October since
it's too
we're-
late.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're doing a lot of outreach right now, thanks to Dr. Anstad, but and I've done my 2 parent groups, which one thing I wasn't sure, but as I was going through these parent groups, I really liked being a part of that. I learned a lot, especially at the junior high HPI one. It was a lot of fun. I still want to go to Boo Fest. I'm wondering if that shouldn't be not just that we should keep doing those, because that was, I found it really interesting to, if not to be a, like a part of their committees or anything, but just to be there to learn. It helps me understand more intimately what's going on, the things that they're doing, and it was really a lot of fun. So I did 2 of my 3. The third one never responded. And as far as the Saturdays are concerned, I would say, I don't know, November could be kind of rough too because of things that we got going, but I think we should, we're just doing them every Saturday or once a month?
I think
Once a
the
month?
plan had been just one, it was second or third Saturday every
Okay.
month.
Second Saturday.
Yeah, I think.
Second, was that what we had agreed on?
Well, if we find that community stops coming and they're not interested in it, then we can reevaluate then. But if you had as many as 6 people on a day when we're taking over the uptown with a parade and everything, I think that's a pretty good turnout.
So is that November 8th? Yes.
November 8th.
Anyone available to go?
I'm going to be out of town.
I'm available, but I got to do it in September, but I'll do it again if no one else wants to.
November 8th. The other November would be the 15th, which is right before Capitol Conference, which is no big deal, but I could do the 15th. I can't do the 8th.
And I can do the 8th, so
Haha.
if you want to do pick up the 8th or the 15th, we've got them covered, so.
Right. Yeah, 8th would work well for me.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do that the 8th. Do we want to look at December 13th?
Do we want to do the 13th, or when do we have our holiday parade? Are they doing that this year?
That's going to be it's on a Sunday, the 7th, I think. It's the weekend after Thanksgiving weekend, I think. Don't quote me on that, though.
Do we think it would be better doing it in conjunction with that and trying to do one downtown?
Well, it's an evening, that's an evening parade now, so I would say to keep it off that.
Okay, makes sense.
Plus, we ended up there 2.5 hours because we
Yeah.
like put a pin in it during the parade and then continued on afterwards, and 2.5 hours, I think, was a lot of time.
You had to spend it all with me.
No, didn't mean that. Okay, now I have to apologize. All right, so I would say December 13th
Yeah.
if,
I'm available the 13th.
okay.
So we do these at the library?
We had said the library, I like the fact that you can come for free. You don't have to feel like you buy anything. It's available. It's a public space, and because we had the parade that day, it also just made a lot of sense. So. Anyone else?
Is that where we prefer to have it now, is the library?
It's I just like that people can come without feeling like they have to buy something.
Okay.
So that's my preference.
Do we prefer to have a room downstairs, or is there a spot that we want?
There was a table that we've now used a couple times up in that main part of the library, and they just put a sign on it that said Perrysburg Schools, and we just sat there. It's near the kid area, so it's already kind of noisy. So we were able to carry on conversations and didn't feel like, we weren't out in the study areas, but we were also visibly accessible, and I think in the basement, that is
Yeah,
less effective.
I like that table up there. We just had to move the checkers board. But
Yeah.
that worked out okay.
Oh, I wouldn't have moved it.
I would have moved it back, but somebody was playing with it when we left.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so if Eric and I are on the 8th of November, I have Sue, and does somebody want to join Sue on December 13th?
Don't everybody jump at
But
once.
You can pencil me in. I
Okay.
think I'm available on the
Okay,
13th.
and what-
If not, we'll figure it out.
Okay, and what time? Or is that up to you and me?
You want to do 9:30 to 11?
Sure.
Okay.
What time is the library open?
9.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Okay, we're
Done.
set for that. And I guess, yeah, I was able to attend the athletic booster levy information session. I attended Frank Parent. I was going to attend Perrysburg Theater Boosters, and then I wasn't able to go. It was good because they had changed the date and I didn't know, so make sure you check in because they do move dates. And again, and use that Google sheet to fill in if you're going, because then Dr. Anstad can check that and come along for fun if she has lots of free time. No. Okay. Anything else with community engagement? If you think of anything, we meet next Tuesday morning at 7:30. All right. Okay, other committees. I think I started I'm going to start in the middle. Perrysburg Schools Foundation, Mr. Anderson.
Yes, so we met. Primarily, the meeting this month was looking at the variety of different funds that they have available across the different endowments that have been brought in, which is good because as the cuts are continuing to work their way through, the foundation's starting to see more and more grant requests coming in to support things that used to be supported, and working through doing that. They're constantly looking to find ways to enrich student and teacher activities within the boundaries of the grants and the funds that they have. So it's doing a good job on that.
Didn't they raise like $6,000 at the football game
Something like that.
for the puppy dogs?
Something like that,
That's
absolutely.
amazing.
It's dogs.
It was dogs,
It's
yeah.
puppy
Well, we
dogs,
were
yeah.
trying to help. We tried to help Tast out, but we didn't get him across the finish
Oh,
line.
that's
But he's a
too
good.
bad.
He's a good boy.
See, I should have brought Tess and we could have made even more.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Move up, Human Resources.
So, yeah, we did that. You did that one as well, right? Most of that was on, we covered a lot of it in the working session, was around the recruiting or the search for the superintendent. Was the primary focus we covered for that.
Operations.
If you look at are the notes published anymore? No. So y'all don't get the operation notes?
As I say, I have them if you don't.
Yeah, if you look at those, you'll see, talked about staffing, all of the main areas, the reductions in staff, either by retirements or medical or whatever. Everybody is running in a little bit of a panic.
I understood that we had heard last month that the custodians were kind of short-staffed, and then I heard at the Frank Parent meeting that it sounds like the maintenance staff is also,
Yep, he's down in maintenance as well. He's down a grounds crew, and he's down, I've got down to 2. I don't know if that was down to 2 or down 2.
We're down 2 custodians because they're out for surgery.
Yeah. And then Brent is also down 2. That seems to be the number, down 2 on his tech people. They have an AI subcommittee, which I think is really pretty cool. It's teacher run and based, and Jason Hubbard is kind of running that, which is good because obviously there's a lot going on with the AI thing. In the transportation, she's running into trouble. There's 2 out on medical, and some family issues that are going on. She's got 4 that are training, though. Sad thing about that is that it takes 4 to 6 weeks before they can get started, so there's a big delay there. So to keep it short and sweet. And James is doing James. He is out bidding on the gas and electric things this month, and we know that if there's a deal to be made, he's our dealer in chief, and he will find it and do it. Did you get any information on that?
No, but I just want to make sure the board, because of the nature of this, when he gets a price, and if he thinks it's good, he needs to lock it down. The contract will come to the board kind of after the fact, but James and I had this conversation. It's not, the price is only good for that moment, literally. It's not 30 days or anything like that. So as the business manager, I kind of see him as authorized to be able to negotiate that, and then whatever those terms are, the board would see them. So hopefully that's comfortable with you. So
Knowing how James analyzes everything, I would be more than comfortable to let him do that. So I'm sure there's a spreadsheet he has already on it. So couple of things to add that I found. There's a couple things concerning and a couple things, interesting Band-Aid for our issues, especially with the short staff part. They were looking at a grant that was coming up for a robotic floor scrubber to kind of help alleviate the areas, especially with the janitors where they're short. There's a new transformer that was being put in because the one, and I mean, this is only a few years ago, for the high school portables was leaking. The water shutdowns at Woodland were going on during PD days, and basically that's to replace the backflows. Something called InfoSec is replacing KnowBefore. So if you see that come up instead of your KnowBefore, there's a replacement of vape detectors and kind of multifaceted capability devices that they use. The one is in the junior highs being replaced. Interesting how they work. If kids try it out, it's basically an instant alert. So the thing that I found most concerning, we're having some problems, recalls on our propane buses. I'm not very happy that they don't give us a replacement or a loaner. We have some that have been down there for a while.
Oh, almost a year, wasn't one?
it's the first I've heard of this, so.
We were talking about it in operation, so.
Yeah, I think it was almost a year,
I mean, I was really looking forward to these propane buses working out, but if this is going to be a long-term issue for us, of course, if busing goes away, then that won't be that much of an issue, but the fact that we paid for something and we're not able to use it is a concern.
I got a lot of confidence in the propane buses. Westerville runs, their whole fleet is propane, has been propane for almost 10 years. Now, so it doesn't excuse this. I'll get with James and figure what's going on.
So, and that was pretty much it.
So there's a lot going on in operations. Pupil and student services, we meet tomorrow, so next time we'll have a report on that. Development, Mr. Bennington.
We have that meeting on Monday.
Okay. Lots of reports next time. And policy, there is a first read of the policy changes. In 15.1, I saw almost all, I think all but 3 were required by legislation, but
Yep.
thankfully Ms. Larimer and Mr. Anderson have taken up that fun task. I don't know if you want to add anything here.
100 and some odd pages.
107, I think, of legal changes, yes.
Thank Columbus.
He's a boss on this. He caught some inconsistencies in the wording, and it was actually kind of fun. It was a fast couple of hours. The one thing that wasn't in there that Chris also remembered to do was adjusting our own policy about conducting interviews for interim positions. So that was kind of like, yes, duh. So we tried to tweak that. So if nothing else, be sure to look at that and see if you like the way it's worded.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I did see that, one minor comment would probably be replace the word large with a number, say
I know,
over 10.
I didn't like the
Large
vagueness
is a
of
little
it, yeah.
subjective, so,
Yeah, that's a
if 10's the number,
subjective
then
term,
make
isn't it?
May if 10, if there's 15, we can still, or a future board could interview 15, but
Yep.
otherwise, yeah, nice change.
And I'm going to review that one. I think one of the intentions was not only that we wouldn't have to interview 20 people, but also the idea that maybe there would be some flexibility in how we conducted those interviews. So maybe we would have talked to all 20, but not all 4 of us would have needed to have met. So I'll look at that language and see if there's a way that we could at least say we're going to interview everyone, but not say the board is going to interview, which seems to me imply that all 4 of us are in the room.
So
there's-
like all 4, like all the interviewees would go through a committee of 2 maybe, or a
We'd have some
committee
kind of
and then-
rubric or, I mean, like a normal interview process that you would do. I would never try to in-person interview 24-person people in my work, so.
Well, I think the key is to get the flexibility in there that basically allows the board to decide how they want to manage
yeah.
the process within some boundaries so that we don't end up with, we're just going to pick the one person that we want, right? So
Yeah.
that was some of the discussion we had. That's why we went with 10 is we want to keep it to a reasonable number, but we also want, if people are interested, they should get a fair shot within,
And again, like that-
24 seems excessive,
And
but
again, like that, if there are 24 intriguing candidates, so the board has the flexibility.
they can
to
do it.
that
Yeah, it's not a
afterwards.
requirement. Yeah,
Yep.
so,
All right.
yeah.
Other items for discussion before we move to the consent agenda item. Did we want to say anything more about property tax reform? I guess I didn't realize, I knew that we were looking at possibly losing the, $2 to $3 million a year with that, and there's a lot of different versions of that, but I didn't realize it was also retroactive.
That's the key. And it goes back, and the reason we get hit so hard because it goes back to, guess when? Our reappraisal year. So that's why it's capped and it impacts, so it goes back it's 2 years this year and the next year. And, so it's painful. And there's a couple different simulations out there. I'm not sure which one is the right one, but the one I'm using is the one, OASBO has been giving us to come from the LSC, but I think BASA has circulated a slightly different one. But I look down, and you can tell exactly what counties went through reappraisal at the time because those are the districts that get hit. We're getting hit by a large number, but let's say Otsego is a large percent. So we're not the only ones in that boat. But it's just not fair because we've operated within those certain rules, right? We forecasted, when I was doing the forecast, I planned on the reappraisal bringing in new revenue, right? And all of a sudden, 2 years later, you're going to change the rules on us. How does a board plan, right? And then we made some decisions on this levy ask that was, I think very rational based on what we knew at the time. Then all of a sudden, again, you change the rules on us. How does that build financial stability? How does that build confidence in the community of we know what we're doing?
I mean, there's certainly other, I think, reasonable and understandable, different proposals that have been made that would reduce taxes for seniors. There's, whether it's an extension or expansion of the homestead exemption, or a limit on, taxes being frozen, or so I, read those. And then there's certainly the concern going forward that inflation, that the reality is that we build in those inflationary increases, and without new levies, we have no increases. So maybe there needs to be a cap on those. I understand those. Is there any sense that at the state level that any of those, I think, more reasonable proposals are being listened to in Columbus?
I would say Speaker Huffman is bound and determined to go all the way. Make as big an impact as he can. I'm gonna be really candid about that. And, and here's what, the unfortunate thing, this last few years has been a once-in-a-lifetime event where districts hit the 20 mil floor, and we had huge valuation increases, right? House Bill 920 had prevented that from happening, and now we're all there. These districts did a great job of managing our resources, and then they're going to get punished for it because of, all these tides have come together in this thing. So, but I don't think there's an interest in the leadership in Columbus to take a more, introspective route.
Okay.
And it'll be interesting. I'll be down at the House of Ways and Means Committee. I would not be surprised if I get down there and they said, we're not going to hear testimony, we're just going to vote. That wouldn't surprise me. Okay. Even though, we submitted a testimony, I don't know if they really want to, but we're going to speak up regardless. And again, we need our communities to speak up because, as all the data shows how much the state decisions are pushing the pressure on local funding. We're having these discussions about the levies and stuff. None of us want to levy any more taxes, but that's where we are.
I think one of the interesting things about this bill is this is not the original version of it. The original version did not have this clawback feature. Yep. The clawback feature is what really significantly impacts us. So they could have gotten reform without going back a couple of years, but they chose not to. They chose to claw back a significant amount of money from many districts. This will be devastating for many districts. I think after tomorrow, well, we got to get through one day at a time, right? And I think even after we get through this levy cycle, we do have citizens here that have expressed to me their interest in becoming more legislatively involved, and I think that's a great thing. Certainly our professional organizations, OASBO and BASA, provide a lot of support when someone, but a lot of people just don't know how to talk to legislators or how to write the letter or how, and I think that we can help with that. And I think that that will be a very important item in the future to address, I would say, immediately after the levy, because this isn't going to stop. I will say the legislature is very worried about the idea that this could go to a vote by the public next year. And who wouldn't vote for lower property taxes? I think almost everybody would.
I think it's
and
no
then
property
it's out
taxes.
of their control. It's out of their control at that point. Today, I don't remember if it was OEPI, someone released a number today, it might have been the Capital Journal, that they believe income tax would go to 13% just to cover the loss. So it's coming from somewhere. I think that's the frustrating part is, but I do think the legislators are in a bit of a panic right now because they want to do something to maybe slow down this public opinion train, which wants to eliminate property taxes altogether.
Yeah, and we were kind of built in. The House Bill 186 in its original form would have kind of capped us a little bit going forward, and we could have worked within that. We could plan that. But when you go backwards, that's the clawback part is what the difficulty is.
What's the clawback hit us for? What would the impact be for next year?
$10 million.
$10 million for next year?
It'll come. I don't know how they're going to do it. They're going
We
to
have
take.
to pay it back? I mean, how does
I'm
that-
sure what they'll do is withhold $10 million out of our February settlement.
So it's a one-time go back, basically.
Well, I mean, I think it'll be $6 million out this year, and then next year they'll reduce it by another $4 million.
Does it reduce the ongoing collections from property
Yes.
tax then
Yes.
too? So what's the ongoing then? So
It's going to be that $4 million a year.
Okay.
So you take what I have in revenue for out past 27 and beyond, subtract $4 million from it.
So
After
you lose
taking
10
$6
million
million
in
out of the
cash.
cash
After
day
taking,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, so you lose 10 million in true days cash, and then you're gonna have to recoup that money with some sort of income tax probably 0.5% to 1% in that ballpark to come out, depending where it is. So 0.5% probably, but yeah, ouch.
Let's get through, get through this next couple of weeks and then go from there. But anyway, we'll keep battling.
We continue to have presentations and discussions out in the community about the levy. Are there any concerns or questions that we're hearing that maybe we're not addressing right now, the information that the community is looking for that we're not presenting right now?
Getting appreciation for, Dr. Anstedt, Mr. Drury, or other members of your team for the Facebook Live and the engagements that are out there. I think it feels like it's been pretty effective because I'm not getting a whole lot of questions. What I am getting is kind of that I'll call it fear now, or that, oh my gosh, what do we do? I mean, it's been more than a handful of connections. People have come to me. They're looking for houses. They're looking for alternative athletic programs for their children now. Kind of that fear of what happens if this doesn't pass. So that's when I was thinking about that question. That's what I'm hearing is, literally looking for houses in other communities here that they may pull the trigger on in the next few months, depending on what happens in 2 weeks. Disturbing.
Yes. And I think, one of the things I want to address is that, there were some questions. The woman who had asked him has already left, so I'm sorry she was not here to hear that, but we've presented some information that shows very clearly that athletics is not self-supporting and not even close to self-supporting. And so that is one of the concerns. I think that's an important question and discussion point to raise, that while it generates about a third of the costs are generated, that's the self-sustaining part between the fees and the gate. But there is, you're gonna have to tell me the $800,000, $900,000 figure, and that's more.
It's about $1 million. Our gates are around $330,000 at the high school level and $50,000 at the junior high level. That money does not go to salaries. So the $1 million is salaries, transportation. So it's not even close to self-sustaining. And yet, from our students tonight, the most memorable moments of their high school careers, right? It's about orchestra and about their clubs and their activities. And it's an important part of any kid's well-rounded education. We've talked a lot in my groups too about, in athletics and in some of the others, about property values and, the quick impact that it will have on property values. And I've said this before, there's no need to have scare tactics. And come to a finance meeting, look at a 5-year forecast, and then look at a 5-year or 4-year forecast, now 3+1, and then imagine someone coming in and saying, just kidding, we're gonna claw back another $10 million out of what you've already spent. So it's a very difficult question to answer, but there's no way we're kidding. We're not going to eliminate reading and not eliminate athletics or activities. No one wants to do this. This is the most painful thing I think that any district can go through. We've watched other districts go through it. They're serious about it. We're serious about it. We don't like it, not at all, but we don't really have an alternative, especially if the state comes and continues to claw back money.
All right. I wanted to raise, we had scheduled at the work session a special meeting on November the 13th. I'd like to suggest that we move that to 5:45. We had originally calculated that we would have 3 or 4 presentations that evening and wanted to make sure that we could get out before we were all going to bed. As of right now, one of the firms that we thought would be submitting a proposal has told us that they are already committed to too many other districts and do not have the personnel to submit a proposal. So, and I just want to raise that. I think one of the questions that we've certainly have heard is that we're jumping the gun on the next board and taking responsibility and for something that we should leave to the next board. And I want to say very clearly we're doing this in order to set the next board up for success. That we were late enough that that they were already maxed out with the number of districts that they're working. So we're right on time for what we need to do to get the search committee in place. And so I'd like to suggest that we move that meeting to 5:45 as a start time on the 13th.
Okay.
I know there's talk about having those who are elected involved. Do we know if everybody who is out there on the ballot is available by that time from their workday?
We decided, just for scheduling purposes, to try to get something, because we had, I think when we looked at dates, there were like 2 dates that we could attend. I know you weren't able to be a part of that conversation, but at that point, we said that we would set the date. We certainly will immediately let all the people who are elected know that date, if they're
Well, they know it
listening
now
to the
because they
meeting.
should be listening.
Yeah, hopefully they're listening and know that date. If they can't attend, then we need to keep moving on this. So if there are people who are elected that can't attend, it's a public meeting. We could certainly record it, I guess. We'll have to talk about that. But then, no, since the 5 of us make this decision, that the 5 of us need to be there, and that those who are elected, whether it's 2 or 3, if they can't attend, they can certainly, talk with us beforehand.
Yeah, we won't be taking action in that meeting.
No, we'll take action at the regular meeting to hire the firm, so they also have that time between the meeting and when we make that decision at our November regular meeting. They could certainly engage us in conversation and ask questions about it. They're just, with the Capitol Conference in particular, we very quickly ran out of dates to interview. And we did want to wait until after Election Day, so whoever is elected at least has the opportunity to attend.
Hearing that our choices in search firms is being limited by the timing puts an exclamation point on the need to get this going, because that's going to also then translate into the quality of candidates that will eventually be able to field for this process, or, I'm sorry, the next board will be able to field for this process.
Yep.
Okay, so is everyone okay with moving that to 5:45?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sue, did you get your question answered? Which firm?
Oh, I'm sorry. You
Which firm canceled?
had K-12
Okay, 12.
said they were too committed, otherwise did not submit a proposal.
Well, I'm glad that they let us know, but that does make it a little bit scary that if they're so busy looking for other superintendents for other districts, where does that put us?
Yep.
Yikes.
All right, other items for discussion? Okay, we have a consent agenda. I want to highlight that, 12.1, we're already addressing retirements for the end of the school year, and there are literally dozens of years of service in the folks listed in 12.1. I don't know. Yeah.
And we expect more on the November
know.
meeting too.
That's
'Cause they've got a deadline, teachers do.
okay.
Let me just say, these are some all-stars. These are big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Very big
Huge.
shoes to fill.
Huge. Okay, does anyone want to pull anything from the consent agenda? And policy is in there, the health cost increase.
Just had a few questions on 12.6. Is that something that we usually do and we just didn't have that filled? Or do we have a need that is popping up?
So in previous years, we had a high school dean. This year, we do not. And so we do need supervision, and it's really great when someone knows the kids. So that's the reason for that.
So the dean position was eliminated with the reductions in this
And that was part of her duties.
contract.
Right, it was part of her contract, so this fills that void.
You had another one, I think you
I
said?
think that's pretty much it. That's it.
I'm sorry, my ears clogged. Did you say that was it?
That's it.
Okay,
Yes,
thanks.
that's it.
All right, so we have the consent agenda, 10.1. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Anderson, Ms. Larimer, Mr. Drew, roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Ms. Larimer.
Yes?
Mr. Bennington.
Yes.
Ms. Menke.
Yes.
Ms. Rowland Miller.
Yes. We do have, in 16.1, other items for consideration, non-consent agenda item, an acknowledgement of Candy Crawford resignation, term of contract after July 10th without consent. Can I have a motion to approve that?
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Bennington, Mr. Anderson, any discussion?
I don't understand what this actually means.
This is when someone is left when they were under contract and we did not approve it. This allows us to fill it, but does not say that we approve the resignation. So we've done it with other positions in the past. Is that a fair description? Okay.
Yeah, it's, yeah, so she'll be finished in December, and then we'll be able to replace the position, so, yeah.
Other discussion, questions? Mr. Drew, roll call?
Mr. Bennington.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Ms. Larimer.
Yes.
Ms. Menke.
Yes.
Ms. Rowland Miller.
Yes. There is no objections. I'd like to adjourn the meeting. No objections, we are adjourned.